Hey there, welcome to DrummRoll. Today I have with me an Australian classical singer who's regularly seen in theatres and recital halls around Australia, but also in the Netherlands, Austria, Germany, Croatia, and the UK. He's been featured as a soloist with the Lyric Opera, Chicago, the Amsterdam Baroque Orchestra, the Royal Concertgebouw, and also as the first international singer appointed a position with the Sistine Chapel Choir at the Vatican. As a recording artist, he's been featured in a number of Australian and New Zealand albums, along with his own projects with the artistic director of the digital concerts that we're about to talk about today. I'd like to welcome David Greco.
Hello, Annabelle. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm pleased to have you here. Thanks so much. We've had such a long time with the theatres closed this year, with the whole...
Yes, we have, haven't we?
Yes, and it's sort of, I'm kind of wondering if it sort of changes people, you know, when you've had this big gap in the middle. Have you found that you've changed within yourself, going through this year?
Yes. Yes, I think it's unavoidable not to grow in some ways and either by necessity. Sorry?
And shrink in others.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Gaining a few other strings to your bow out of necessity. But yeah, it's been a very, very challenging year. And I think for the lesser lucky musicians amongst us, it's been perhaps the end of a chapter and the beginning of perhaps another chapter in their life, which maybe wouldn't have happened had circumstances been more favorable to musicians this year. So that's sad in a way. But for those of us that have kind of plowed on, that have done the best we can and are still here, still singing, still making music, yeah, it's still fighting. It's also been rather fabulous in a way because we've been forced to be domestic with our music making, which has been, I'm talking to you now from my piano room, practice room at home. And in this room, I've done broadcasts, recordings, interviews like the one I'm giving now, and made chamber music at home that I never would have. Probably would have had to, but it's in a way opened up avenues for the domestic music making scene, which has been really lovely.
It's almost like a new version of Salon music then, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And indeed, I have some colleagues at the moment that are very interested in domestic music making in a way of 19th century Australian domestic music making. So, yeah, it's a hot topic.
Yes, it's been quite a catalyst, I think, in sort of
yes, it has.
Forcing people to change. You can't stay in the old ways. But I think, we love our theatres. We always love the live experience. But to be able to add this as an additional way to get the music out to an audience, rather than just being on a CD or a YouTube channel, to have that live experience for people that can't physically get to the theatre, I think it's been a really great thing to turn our attention towards.
Well, yeah, absolutely it has. And in a way, it's also opened up avenues that weren't possible once upon a time. Like, it's kind of creating the accessibility of these live streams, of this digital platform, has really allowed perhaps even more people to get a worm's eye view rather of what it is that we do that maybe they wouldn't if they were in, the back row of a theatre, of the Opera House or Angel Place or wherever it is. So, we've really been kind of forcibly invited into people's homes, and that's been a good thing. It's an odd medium to get used to in a way, the digital streams, definitely, because often there hasn't been an audience, and so you've been performing to either a camera or an empty hall, an empty concert hall, which is, I think, must be very tricky. I'm luckily, I'm jumping the gun a bit by talking about this concert, aren't I? But for the concert coming up that I'm going to do with Musica Viva, luckily there will be a live audience there, or part thereof.
Clapping really loudly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All separated, all socially distanced.
Yeah, it doesn't make quite the same cozy feel, but at least you've got some vibes coming back. Though I was thinking, for performers standing on a stage in front of an empty hall, it's very much like me on radio, that you almost have to use your imagination as to what their reaction is.
That's exactly right, and I think
with the divine music.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And do you find that hard when you're in front of the big mic at the radio studios, or do you
It took me a
What did
while.
you
Yeah, no, it took me a while. I mean,
give me some pointers?
well, it's a different medium because when you're in a theatre, you project out based on the size of the theatre that you're working in, right? If you have a little
Yes.
recital hall, it's going to be different from an enormous auditorium. So when you're talking radio, then it comes right down to the internet. That if you think about a person that is out there receiving what you are sending, that they might be just a single person sitting there in bed with their cup of tea and a tablet watching the concert, or it might be a mum who sat down with their kids in front of the television just to show them what classical music's about and that this is a live concert. So you are performing to an audience that size. You might end up with 50,000 people watching as we grow these digital concerts, but it's still that size audience. And so you kind of make a more intimate communication. I think that's how I find with radio anyway.
Interesting. Yes. So you kind of you invite them. It's kind of, when I certainly listen to you on radio, it's quite a personal, intimate atmosphere that you create. And so I'm looking forward to that. Maybe answers the question before. I'm looking forward to that aspect, to be able to perhaps make a smaller sound or a more intimate sound than I maybe usually would have when I was trying to fill a big hall.
Exactly, yeah.
The mics will be there, and I might feel that I can do something a bit softer, a phrase a bit more pianissimo, or play with the text a little bit more interaction with the instruments on either side of me. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, like a little club. Like, well, it's salon. It's like a salon, isn't it? Like a lounge.
That's right, exactly.
I think it's a nice way to put it. So tell us a little bit about the music that you've got in this concert coming up.
The program was forged rather, not a necessity, but it was convenient because Erin Heliard, my longtime collaborator, and I were asked to do a concert for Musica Viva, and they said, carte blanche, you can program it, but we're trying to keep not too many people on stage, a concise program, and something that the two of you are specialized in, and that's preferably Baroque or Baroque and before. And so Erin and I talked about this great program that I once did in Europe and in Australia as well. It's a program basically of devotion and salvation.
At the moment.
Yeah, right, exactly. Of all composers, all Northern German composers, the generation before Mr. JS. Okay. So we've got Mr. J.S. Bach's uncle. We've got Buxtehude, the famous composer that Bach walked three days to hear play the organ, and who was offered his Buxtehude's daughter's hand in marriage, didn't accept. But all of this music comes under the term Abendmusik, which means evening music. It's just the word for it, but it's super soulful, Northern German, yet with a hint of Italianate style in it, and it's super melodic. It's got a lot of the great Italian ground basses like chaconnes and passacaglias in it, so super funky music, yet at the same time super spiritual. So I think it's a good choice for the present moment.
Good mix. And how many musicians will you have on the stage?
We will have precisely 6 musicians, including myself, which will be the band, and me. We'll have a harp, Hannah Lane. We'll have my brother, Baroque violinist extraordinaire to my right, Matthew Greco. And
he really is wonderful.
He really is fab. And Anton Baba on gamba, Erin Hilliard on organ and harpsichord, and Raphael Vermont on violin too.
Fantastic. This sounds really good. Okay, so let's have a look at the details for this concert. It's going to be on Monday, the 16th of November at 7 p.m. in Sydney time zone. So that is GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, plus 11. I'll give you a few options of different time zones below the video. And the concert is called Reconnect Sydney with David Greco and Erin Heliard and friends. The venue, it's actually going to be recorded in the City Recital Hall in Angel Place in central Sydney in Australia. The tickets are Australian $25. That's very economical, especially if you're up there in Europe and the UK. And I will put the link below as to where you can buy your tickets. So thank you so much for joining me today, David. I think it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful concert.
It really is going to be a real gorgeous nugget compact sized concert.
Superb. Thanks so much.
Very welcome. Thanks.